So I had a conversation with Nick month and a half back, and Nick actually held to the position that flat tariffs on all goods imported into the country will not cause inflation for the American consumer. I know there's other Republicans up here that have actually argued the opposite of that, such as UTSAV. I don't want to butcher the pronunciation of your name, so I'm just going to spell it. So, Nick, do you still defend that position?
First of all, hey, can you hear me, by the way? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you.
Yeah, we hear you. Welcome.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on, everybody? Good to be with you. So the tariff debate, no, I said that they can increase prices. I said that, and if you look at Trump's first term, inflation was low, and you're right, it wasn't across-the-board tariffs. It was selective tariffs on countries like China. And regardless of that, prices did not go up considerably. Inflation didn't go up considerably. And that's really kind of the operative word, because whenever you're talking about economics, it always involves trade-offs, whether we're talking about corporate tax rate, tariffs, even immigration policy. It's always a trade-off. And so the question is, what is it that the country is after? And, you asked a question earlier about should we trade off, for example, the short-term benefit for a long-term gain, or rather a short-term pain in exchange for a long-term benefit. And I think those are really the more interesting questions. And so, for example, something like tariffs, they can increase prices, but I think ultimately, one, I don't think it's considerable, and two, I think it's worth it in the long run, because the whole point of tariffs is about what the country produces. It's better for the country, for the United States, to produce things like semiconductors, for example, than it is for the country to produce oil. One of our biggest exports is just oil, just raw materials. It's better to make things. It's better to make and export finished products. It makes the country richer. And so you compare, for example, the United States and China, and this is something that people were looking at during the war in Ukraine. One way to look at the economy is GDP. You add up all the production in the country over the year and look at the value of that, and you can compare it that way. And I think that's actually moot because, there are different exchange rates with the currencies. And so, the purchasing power of a country like China is different than the United States. But another way to look at how you measure the size or the health of the economy is the size of its different sectors. And so during the Ukraine war, it became actually a very important question of who can produce more things, who can make more things in factories. And so when you look at a country like China, for example, it's like 70% of their economy is productive, meaning that when you add up construction, agriculture, and manufacturing, that's 70% of their economy. When you look at the United States, you add up manufacturing, construction, agriculture, that's 15% of our economy. So China's GDP might be smaller than ours, but when you compare it relative to what is actually being produced, they're actually making more than we are.
Nick, can you compare the GDP growth of China compared to our own country in the last 4 years and tell me what you see?
Oh, since the COVID pandemic? Yeah, and I agree with you. China slowed down considerably since the pandemic.
Also important to note, a lot of China's construction is complete bullshit that's just been there to prop up the economy.
Yeah, now they're like...
Yeah, but see, but here's the thing. Here's what you got to understand. The ability to produce is what matters. China has the ability, for example, to produce warships at a much faster rate than we are, 20 times the rate that we can. China has way more shipbuilding yards than the United States had. We used to have dozens. Now I think we have 3 shipyards where we actually build ships. Now we're having to rely on countries like Korea, other countries to build the ships. Obviously, when we're getting into like a great power confrontation and like the international order is being tested by these other powers, that kind of capacity once again becomes relevant. How many ships you could build, tanks, ammunition, missiles, things like that. Russia, China, these other countries have much more manufacturing capability. Anyway, so all this is to say, the benefit of tariffs is about making the right kinds of things, and that's worth actually the short-term pain. In the long run, again, and I'll admit that it increases prices. I don't think it increases prices significantly, but whatever the cost is, I think it's worth it because we want to make the right kinds of things. That's the real wealth of nations, is what the country makes. And I don't think we should be a petrostate that's exporting like debt and financial services and oil. That's going to make us poor in the long run. And it also, more importantly, makes us weak.
I think during COVID, you saw that during COVID where there was like only one company in the entirety of the US that was producing masks because all the
It's Chinese.
no, I'm talking about in the US. No, the rest of
it was based in Texas, right? They made a
yeah.
shit ton of money, but then they had to shut down because it's seasonal, more or less. They
Well,
can't be producing at that rate, and they realized they would go bankrupt.
The problem was that during COVID, they found out. What we found out was that all of the masks were being made in China, and no one was buying from the American companies because China was subsidizing the mask companies, and so this American manufacturer was really struggling, and only when did China put restrictions on all the equipment because of COVID did they realize that they actually needed to buy from a US supplier because everything was made in China. And China actually kept a lot of things that the US needed for itself because they thought it was necessary.
Yeah, I have 3 or 4 things about what Nick said that I'd like to respond to. The first thing that you said is, well, when Trump imposed his tariffs during his first term, we didn't see any great increases in the macro inflation rate. So, first of all, using the macro rate of inflation as an indicator on if his tariffs were inflationary or not is a really terrible idea. Because something else that we saw introduced around the same time as his tariffs was his tax cuts. We can all agree, as long as we have a little bit of a background in economics, that tax cuts are inflationary. I mean, that's a natural byproduct. You could still make the argument that they're good. That's fine, but they're inflationary. They have inflationary pressures. Yet after the introduction of the TCJA, we still saw a decrease in that macro level of inflation. So in other words, tariffs can have inflationary pressures while not being resembled within the macro rate of inflation, and that would be described via the fact that those were isolated tariffs, as you had pointed out, Nick. Second of all, you said that you don't believe the tariffs that he wants to impose in his second administration will be considerable. So, I mean, first of all, the term considerable is going to be incredibly subjective. You get to define that however you want. What's considerable to you may not be considerable to me or Elon Musk, right? But overwhelmingly, we do have expert indications, such as the idea that the 25% flat rate tariff that he wants to impose on Canada will increase the price of a gallon of your gas by like 70 cents. I think that these are things that are incredibly considerable. And at the end of the day, if the point of his tariffs is to reindustrialize America, well, then they would have to increase the price of goods from other countries to a pretty considerable degree to do it to such an insane to reindustrialize America as you're describing. And then for my third and final point here, you pointed out a difference between us and China that kind of sets China on a little bit of an upper leg. You said their productive capacity. I define that as their infrastructure. The reason why China can build more warships, etc., than the US is because they have the infrastructure to do that. You describe this as their shipbuilding yards. And I think that we could cut to the chase and resolve the problem of a lack of infrastructure in the US without causing these negative consequences to the American consumer through the use of investment of raw capital. Trump did it with a farm bill. Biden and Harris did it with the CHIPS and the Science Act. We can all agree that if we just invest money into building out our infrastructure for manufacturing from our federal government, A, that's a pretty damn good way to spend our money, and B, it achieves the same end goal that tariffs do without causing those same negative consequences, such as inflation for the consumer or a reduction in our own exports that cripples American companies that are predominantly reliant on exports, such as Trump's tariffs in 2018 did.
What was that phrase from the Germans that was like, a German tank is worth 4 American tanks, but the Americans always had 5? Referring to
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's about their productive capacity, that the Germans had higher quality stuff, but we had a bigger industrial base. And that's really the operative word, is industrial base. And this just goes to show, Dean, in your chat GPT answer that, unfortunately, people don't have actually a real understanding of what economics is.
1 second.
Economics is not
sitting in the garage without
Pardon
a laptop.
me? Okay, can I finish my answer, or do you get your 3-part and then interruptions on mine? So here's the problem. When we look at economics now, people talk about gross domestic product, people talk about dollars, but dollars is a fiction. That is a fiat currency. The value is always changing. What economics really is about is goods and services. It is about factors of production, labor, raw materials, capital. This is what an economy really is. China has a bigger real economy because they have the capability to make more things. They have a bigger labor force, they have immense raw materials, and they have a huge industrial base. Industrial base meaning they can make things. And so you say, for example, well, we could solve this deficit in shipbuilding capacity with basically, you say something like a subsidy. Why don't we just get the government to fund more shipyards? And it's like, but what does that mean? The government can print money. The government cannot print shipyards. Would you like to know why? Because shipyards are built using steel. They are built using labor, skilled labor, materials that are sourced from the United States. If the United States doesn't have a large industrial base, it is not economical to build shipyards and ships. If the United States does not have a large skilled labor force, it cannot hire them economically at a shipyard. The way that you build a large industrial base is by exporting industrial goods, finished products, manufactured goods. If your goods are not competitive in the world market, then you cannot sell them there, and then therefore you cannot make them. So what makes it economical to have an industrial base are tariffs, which protect American industry and protect American workers from foreign competition, whether that's because of vast cheap labor or manipulation of currency. And so that's why you need a whole of government approach or a broad approach in the economy to foster and cultivate industry. That's the whole point. So, the point is this: if we can agree that it is desirable for the United States to make things, if we can agree it's desirable for the United States to be powerful and have an industrial base, well, then it's a necessity. And so things will probably be more expensive. And you say, well, the word considerable is doing a lot of heavy lifting. That's very subjective. True. But I said it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because what is imperative for the United States to maintain primacy and project strength is a strong industrial base, because power and economics, the problem with you guys,
do you mind if I
is it's like
respond real
the
quick?
chat. Yeah, hang on. Let me just say this, then you can respond. The problem with you kids, you youngsters, nephew, is it's these chat GPT answers you're racing. You're not even listening to what I'm saying. You're just ready to launch in with the next talking point.
Nick, don't worry. I'm on a very real note.
Because you never read Friedrich List, okay? Because you don't know about the American system. But go ahead. Give me the chat GPT Biden talking points on that. Let's hear it.
Before that, I have a question. So based on what I've just seen, but based on what I've seen from you, I think you're somewhat anti-immigration. So
yeah, I was actually going to ask about that too.
Hold on, wait. So as someone that's worked in manufacturing, Adrian has also worked in manufacturing. I know that you can't just say, let's start manufacturing this thing and be competitive on a worldwide scale. That's going to result in you making worse products if you don't have the experience.
It's literally impossible.
It's literally impossible in some cases.
Correct, which is why I find your views somewhat contradictory. They're at odds with what you know, right? Like, I mean,
hold on,
everything you just said, I agree with.
Hold on, Ian, wait. So, especially with something like chips that depends on experience from the previous generations, right? That one especially. So if America's already 20, 30 years behind on manufacturing, you would need to bring in some amount of some amount of immigration from those people to, at minimum, for things that are more simple, train them and then leave. But for some products, you would need someone that's already had 20, 30 years of experience to permanently immigrate to make sure the process actually runs smoothly. So how exactly do you think that would work?
Yeah, and then after he responds to that, I just want to be able to hop in and respond so I don't forget what he said to me.
Yeah, that's a good question. Here's the thing about immigration. I actually don't have a problem with what you're describing, because what you are describing is actually an immigration, or maybe better said, a work visa program. But that's not what we have. We have brought in 60 million immigrants in like 40 years. And I know you guys are most likely against illegal immigration. Great. And I imagine you think they should be deported. And I agree with you on that. And I imagine you would probably agree that we should maybe offset. If we could bring in more skilled workers, we could
Not all
diminish
illegal immigrants.
other forms of immigration, like chain migration or something like that. And I'd agree. The problem is none of that is happening. The illegals are not being deported. As a matter of
That's
fact,
not
they're
true.
being let in. That is true. Trump.
We have higher deportation numbers last year under Biden than there were under Donald Trump.
And then at some
So
point,
obviously,
after
like,
that, I'd like
deportation is
to
happening.
I'm
respond to
talking
everything Nick said
about, well,
in
first
there.
of all, you had 10 million illegals come in under Biden in 4 years. So it's
Can
a
we
drop in
talk
the
about that
bucket.
next so I could
That's
respond to what Nick said?
that's also not true. The majority of people who've come in recent years are through asylum, which is a legal process, making them legal.
It's abuse. They're abusing the asylum
Yeah,
process.
so I
They get
totally
a
agree that
script, they come
I
in.
totally agree that they're abusing the process, but that's exactly why Biden proposed reforming the process and reforming asylum laws to make it harder to claim asylum. But Donald Trump killed the bill, so
Can
that
I?
didn't happen.
Okay,
Donald Trump had them remain in Mexico, and Biden terminated that policy.
Remain in
his
Mexico.
first 100 days.
Remain in
Yes.
Mexico only affected around 70,000 people and wasn't even in use by the end of Donald Trump's administration.
That's just not true.
So
Wait,
That
what
is
year? What year
objectively
was the
true.
Remain in
Is
Mexico
wrapped up
That's
in
policy
not
courts.
passed,
true.
Nick?
so okay, so Nick, I would like to know what type of immigration policy you want. Do you want like a complete?
But wait, Nick should answer Dean's question right there. That's incredibly relevant.
Which
to
is
what we're talking
what?
about.
In what year was the Remain in Mexico policy passed under Trump's admin? And then also, you said a whole lot to me about
2019.
perfect, right? So when Harry says that it wasn't put into effect until after the end of his presidency, he's telling the truth. Not to mention, Mexico said they wouldn't renew it. It was a humanitarian crisis, and there's other means that we could use to expedite the legal processes of migration to disincentivize immigrants from entering into the country through illegal routes in the first place. There's also a
Do
whole
you know
lot
how
that you had
many?
said to me about
But here's the
One
problem.
moment, don't interrupt me. Just please, 30 seconds. There's also a whole lot that you had said to me about like tariffs and how we could reindustrialize America. At some point, I'd love to respond to you about that, but if the overwhelming consensus would like this conversation to head in the direction of immigration, I could kind of just let it slide.
Yeah. Oh, you'll let it slide? Thank you so much. Well, look, with regard to immigration, I'm not going to defend Trump or Biden or anybody on illegal immigration. The border's wide open. And look, I mean, we could go back and forth
Oh my
about the
god.
particulars. No, look, I didn't vote for Trump. I don't know if you know anything about
Yeah,
me, but I didn't vote for
that's
Trump.
fine. I'm not asking who you voted for, but when you say the border's wide open, that's just stupid.
Yeah, it's just
That
rhetoric.
is just
It's numerous
true.
rhetoric
That is
Really,
absolutely
Nick,
true.
how is the border wide open? What
Because
did
we have
Biden
a
do to
catch
open
and
it?
because we have a catch and release policy.
So was the
That's
border
why.
wide open under Trump prior to 2019?
Wait. Can we just finish this point? Here's why the
Crazy.
border's wide
Dumb.
open, because we have a catch and release policy.
So was
Would
the
you
border
answer
wide open
that?
under Trump
So
before
can you respond to what Dean just said to you?
Which is what?
Was the border wide open under the entirety of Trump's admin?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And I was critical of Trump throughout his first term.
So say
for
Trump
that
had an
reason.
open border throughout the entirety of his first term.
Yes, he did. And
So
I
Title
criticized
42
him.
didn't
Why I
close
didn't
the
vote
border?
for him.
So Title 42 didn't close the border.
Well, the pandemic made people
crazy,
not
dude.
show up. That's true.
I think.
If you look,
Okay,
that's just true.
guys.
If you look at that chart, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, Harry and Dean, I don't know why you guys are laughing because, like, Nick has been.
Because
Nick has always been had this viewpoint that they're already letting in way too many people,
But
even when they
wait,
are
his
being
viewpoint. He
restricted.
just debunked his own viewpoint. He was
This
saying
is
that the border was closed in its entirety under Donald Trump, and then acknowledged that Title 42 made it not the case. It's like,
Yeah, and then also
that's
the
why
claim
we're
that
wrong.
He literally just
too many.
said. He literally
The
just
claim-
said that he wanted Trump to be stricter on the border, and that the
Wait, but the
border
claim
was
that he
wide
wanted
open.
Trump to be stricter on the border is different from the claim that the border is wide open. I think it is incredibly
He didn't say it was
idiotic to
closed
say
under Trump.
that the
He said it
president
was wide open under Trump.
Yes, he said that the border was wide open under the entirety of Trump's 4 years, and that is an incredibly idiotic claim to make, including the years under Trump's administration. under Title 42. You could say that he wasn't strict enough on the border. I completely expect that from you, Nick. But to say that it was
Look,
wide
I can
open
give you
under
I could
Title
give you the
42 is
entire
insane.
history of Trump's first term on immigration. You don't want to go there with me. I covered it every day. Look, whippersnapper, I'm older than you. Okay, I did my show every day for 4 years under Trump, and here was the pattern. When Trump was inaugurated, illegal immigration had fallen from Obama's final year. It fell actually after the election and through the inauguration because there's always this effect. Whenever illegals anticipate that there will be enforcement, they don't show up. When they think that they will get a chance at an amnesty, they show up in larger numbers. So illegals were showing up in lower numbers in 2017 because they anticipated that Trump, elected on building the wall, would be enforcing. In September 2017, Trump floated this DACA amnesty. He said he wanted a grand bargain. He would amnesty the DACA recipients. Then you started getting caravans, and they were coming from the Northern Triangle, which is Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador. They started coming in like spring and then the fall 2018. It culminated in 2019 to 20-year high illegal immigration. May and June, at like 150,000 illegal border crossings each month. That is when Trump threatened tariffs on Mexico and got a commitment from Mexico that they would close their southern border to the Northern Triangle and that they could keep the illegals on the other side of the border. And if you look at the numbers, the border apprehensions did come down considerably after that. And I agree with you. It was very late in the game. That was in 2019. And then it cratered in March 2020 because of Title 42, or you could say just because of the pandemic. I mean, there's really two reasons. One, you had Title 42, but also global movement was frozen because of the pandemic, because of quarantine and things like that. So, but it came up shortly after that. Illegal immigration actually came down in March, crashed to like lowest level in history. And then it came up before Biden took office. And then it exploded under Biden. I don't know why you want to dispute that. That's just obviously true. That
So how could you possibly hold to
the border crossings under Biden were unbelievable. And
how
it's
can
like
you
10
possibly
million in
hold
4
to the
years.
position that the border was wide open under Title 42 while also acknowledging that Title 42 may have slowed immigration into our country?
When I say throughout the entirety, it was closed for like 3 months.
Okay, so then
Trump
you
had
would
a wide open
actually
border
reject your
from
prior
January
statement that it was
27th.
not open under the entirety of his term.
Okay, congratulations. Yes, when I said throughout his entire, I meant 90% of it. You got me. Gotcha! Yeah, no, but that's always been my position. That's why I didn't vote for Trump. But look, regardless, we're getting caught in the weeds on this, like, will you admit Republicans suck? Like, dude, Republicans and Democrats are corrupt. I don't know why you're like,
I'm familiar with you,
you're
Nick.
shilling for like the Democrats. It's
I
crazy.
won't take that route anymore.
Democrat presidents are good and Republican presidents are bad. Like, it's just such a juvenile mentality. But anyway,
that's not my mentality.
But here's the big picture:
is that Democrat presidents in modern American history have seemingly been better than Republican ones, especially comparing the administrations of Biden and Harris.
So naive,
Trump.
Dude. Like, Democrats are just as bad. They're Democrats and Republicans are equally bad.
I absolutely reject that.
Neither of them give a shit about you.
The reason why
I'm sorry to tell you.
Are bastards. All right, here's a suggestion. Basically, you don't let in anyone through the border. You can only do it if you do through the flights.
Well, I mean, look, I just think the numbers need to be way lower. The problem is the volume is insane. We have this like 50 million foreign-born people living here. It's just too many. Like, that's not immigration. That's too many. Immigration is like you said, a country decides to permit people to enter because it makes the country stronger. If we had like Taiwanese engineers come in to teach American workers how to build semiconductors and build an ecosystem where we could make those, that's a clear benefit for America. And if we bring them in and then we send them home when they're done, or we bring in, like Elon said, the 10,000 geniuses, I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. But the problem is we're getting millions of irregular migration, which you could say, well, technically they're asylum seekers. It's like, okay, they're showing up at the border, they're reading a script, and they're being brought here. They're basically economic migrants. And then you have other people that are gaming the system, or they're, paid their way through oligarchs, or there's some lottery or chain migration system. And the problem is, like, it's just too many people coming in. and a lot of them are not benefiting the country. They don't have loyalty. They don't identify with the country. And there's just too many for too long. So
Okay, I have a
that's
question.
really my hang up.
So in your view, what is an ideal immigration policy that results in people actually becoming citizens? Would it be the Taiwanese? Would it be the EB5? Would it be the O1? What is your viewpoint of that?
I think you need to overhaul the system, and I think the government needs to evaluate where we actually need the skilled labor. And so I think that would be semiconductors. I think that would be anything tech related. And I think that at the same time, though, the corollary is you need to develop American industry and education. It can't just be about importing, because the problem is you bring in these people and you give them green cards. Like that Sriram Krishnam guy, who he was the appointment that started the whole thing. He got a green card after like 10 years. He came here from Microsoft from India in 2006, and he got citizenship by 2016. And so this is just importing like a cheap labor force, because of course these people would rather be here than India.
Shuram
I
had a
mean,
lot of
Nick, like, let's be honest here, bro. Like, 10 years of Microsoft, bro, you couldn't even last a year at Microsoft.
Shuram,
just to be honest.
Shuram had a lot of accomplishments. He helped Snapchat get to $1 billion valuation. He helped Microsoft. He was a big deal at Facebook. So it's not just cheap Indian labor. He actually had a lot of impact.
Yeah, Nick, there's going to come a time when you will have to apologize to the Indian community for your hatred. There will come a time, and you will laugh.
What hatred? What hatred?
Your hatred, where you say 500 million Indians will come to this country. H-1B program takes 85,000 max. In FY 2022,
hyperbole.
That's per year.
Per year. FY 2022, this program had 73% Indians. FY 2023 had 50% Indians. For the last 10 years of the H-1B program, yes, the Indians had a bit of a majority, but not for the entirety of this program. The idea that 500 million Indians are going to come to this country is fake news. You spread hate. You spread disinformation. You're not a good faith actor.
Oh, brother.
And don't call me your brother. You're not my freaking brother. I'm going to call you out. I'm going to call you out. I'm going to expose your disinformation. And I'm glad you cry when you are, oh, my check mark.
That wasn't him.
I never had a check mark.
Honestly, brother. Honestly, man, I eat your tears. It's delicious.
I do.
I don't know. You're the one who sounds emotional.
Please don't.
I think we can be objective about stuff.
Yeah, please don't do it. Please don't do
Who's this guy?
Andrew?
Yeah. How's it going? Well, I just saw that it was quite lopsided up here, where it was a 4-on-1 against Fuentes, and I thought maybe I could come in and even the odds a bit.
Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, I like you, Andrew. You're a good guy. But I want to respond to this. So let me just say this, okay? Obviously, when I say 500 million Indians are coming in, that's what we here in America would call a hyperbole. It's an exaggeration. You might not be familiar. I don't know your culture very well, but it's an exaggeration. Obviously, it's not 500 million.
It's called a lie.
Oh, thank you for telling me. Here's the point.
He's just exaggerating, guy. Like, don't take it too seriously. Like, he does this, and I think a lot of people do. So like, don't take it literally.
It's called hyperbole.
He is holding his own pretty fucking
it's called
well.
hatred. It's called hatred.
Please don't take it too seriously.
I mean, to defend,
it's kind of getting cringy.
You don't have to.
I mean, to defend him here, right? I think that two things can be true at once. I think it could be true that it's hyperbole, while also denoting the fact that it's hyperbole that's being used to like literally generate like hate. Like I mean, like you have to make that realization, right? Like the reason why Nick gets on stream and talks about millions and millions and millions of Indians coming into our country through H-1B visas to work here is to literally like scare prejudiced white supremacists into thinking that the white race is dying and white people are going to become minority.
By the way, did you see?
Yeah, this is why he pushes like replacement theory and shit. He wants to scare his viewers. Just shut up. He pushes replacement theory to make his viewers.
By the way.
No. You can't. Wait. I'm sorry.
Nick.
Holy shit.
Hold on. Okay,
Jesus
just
Christ,
to
that just
clarify,
got way out of control. This is fucking Chernobyl down here. Holy
yeah,
shit.
just to clarify, a few days ago, we literally made fun of those people.
Exactly.
Right? We
Well, I'm just,
Yeah, let's not
I
do
don't
that.
I don't know if you guys saw that, but we literally
make fun of who?
we made fun of a bunch of white supremacists on space.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
we
Yeah,
did.
you
We
should make fun
literally
of people
spent
like Nick
3
Fuentes.
days doing
I will say, okay,
You-
here's the thing. I will say, statistically speaking, for various many countries, in Europe specifically, the birth rates are so fucking low that the people who are migrating into that country will inevitably replace them because they are simply going to outbreed the people that are there. Now,
Correct.
the replacement theory, by the way, there's a distinction. Replacement theory is this
Correct.
thing that people say this is somehow a planned thing, right? This is somehow a thing that has been put into place by the elites or some fucking bullshit. I don't believe in that. However, I will say that
because
ignoring
the
objective
amount of
statistics is
but also the
you're right.
amount of children
There's a
they
distinction.
have also decreases.
There's a distinction.
Demographics is destiny, guys. Demographics
There's a
is destiny. I'm
distinction.
not referring to the
Nick
streamer.
pushes replacement theory as what Dean was talking about to scare his
I know.
viewers.
It's
racist
replacement.
view.
I know it's
Right.
replacement theory, but I just wanted to clarify, like additional context. Maybe.
Hey, I'm
yeah,
here.
no.
I can speak for myself.
Yeah.
If I could just
less is better.
Said.
Well,
let me
better from
respond to
you.
this.
Actually,
Let me respond
Yeah,
to
let
this
him respond, guys.
allegation.
Let him respond.
Let me respond to this allegation.
All right.
Here's
Jesus
the problem:
Christ.
is all of this language is just it's not rational. Okay, you're not using actually. When I say what's hateful, you used an example of where I said a hyperbolic statement. I said, well, it's 500 million when in reality it's 85,000 per year, and they were 50%. Okay, but it's actually not a hateful, racist, white supremacist,
Hold on.
This is so
disingenuous.
Please get my point out?
No, this is so disingenuous.
Hold on.
This is
Adrian,
wait. This is so
calm down,
disingenuous.
Hold on.
All right, everybody, shut up.
Fuck. I can't speak.
Let's Nick. Fucking funny as shit.
Let Nick make his fucking point.
Yes, please, and uninterrupted if possible. I mean, fucking uninterrupted. 100%. That's a demand.
All right, Nick, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I'll try to keep it brief, but here's the point. It's actually and this is all I'm going to say. You can feel however you want about me or things I've said. It is actually a valid concern what the composition of the country will be, racially, ethnically, in terms of religion. When you talk about the stability and the health and the identity and the character of a nation, it is relevant what the composition of the country is. And there have been studies done on this that show that the more ethnic diversity there is in a country, the more conflict there is. And that's a very basic premise, which is that people living together with lots of exposure, with a lot of differences about deeply held things. I mean, look at, for example, Israel and Palestine. Look at a country like Syria or Iraq or India and Pakistan or Pakistan and Afghanistan or the Chechen War. I mean, Kosovo, like everywhere where you have, and it goes without saying, where there is sectarian, religious, ethnic conflict, just because you have sectarian, religious, ethnic diversity. And America has undergone a radical transformation. The composition of the country is different. It used to be one way. Now it's a different way. There used to be one kind of people living here. Now there's a different kind of people living here. The outcomes are going to be different. And I actually don't think it's necessarily hateful to be concerned about that, to talk about it honestly as adults, to be critical about that. And so, and it's important to distinguish between, when we're being funny or when we're being hyperbolic, when we're making a point, and then saying, well, is it actually worthwhile to consider that America was a European country from, the time they settled at Plymouth Rock before there even was a United States until the Hart-Celler Immigration Act or the 1990 Immigration Act. And now it's going to become a majority-minority country. And what kind of political cleavages will result? Ethnic politics, the question of assimilation, American identity. Even liberals are preoccupied with this question. There's a book by Sam Huntington called Who Are We? And it says that, when you look at American identity, it started out with a racial, ethnic, religious, cultural, and civic identity. Over the course of 300 years, It no longer has an ethnic identity because you have Southern and Eastern Europeans. It no longer has a religious identity because you have Catholics, Protestants, Jews, and other groups. It no longer has a cultural identity because people are speaking different languages and practicing different religions. So it's like, is the only thing that makes us American now that we have a constitution and like get traffic tickets or something like that? Can a country hang together if that's all that's left? That's a valid question. That's actually not necessarily motivated in racial hatred or prejudice. I actually don't hate people. I'm a Catholic. I know real white supremacists, Nazis, whatever in the so-called radical right. They don't like me. They don't like Christianity. They don't like that I'm a Catholic. They don't like those things. But what? Anyway, I'm rambling. But that's what I have to say about that.
Well, here's my question to you. If you really
is someone talking? I can't hear.
He's talking, yeah.
Jordan,
have to reconnect.
You can't hear me?
Jordan, you gotta drop.
Yeah, Jordan, drop. I'll bring you back.
Okay, while Jordan's dropping,
I'd just like to respond to that because Nick, those are a bunch of gish gallops you just threw out there. The fact is, we've had monocultures like Japan and Korea go at war with each other. We've had the whole history of Europe with the Christian Reformation, disputes between Protestants and Catholics. We've had a lot of differences. Heck, America is becoming more Catholic now, and this country was founded by Protestants, Calvinists. So the reality is, countries have dealt with things with different groups, sometimes with the same set of groups, sometimes with the same set of races. The Indian community is one of the lowest crime committing communities in this country, one of the highest net earners of this country. And you are on record for slandering the Hindu religion. You're on record for making fun of these Indians based on their hygiene, based on their intelligence, based on their ethnic composition. You've done this many times. I don't have to send you the receipts. It's all there. You're being completely disingenuous, and we're not taking this crap anymore. It's over. The Indian community will never be your punching bag again. Mark my words.
Okay, and then also,
well, hang on. Who made you? Who?
Yeah, I want to jump in for a second. Here. Okay, so they're both good points made on both sides here. I'll say that to a certain extent. Now, when it comes to what Nick was saying, to be concerned and to talk about it, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. I think if you go to a certain country, you should respect that country's culture because there is a reason why you're going to that country, right? So technically speaking, what I see a lot with many people, there's an issue when they immigrate from one country to another. They're actually not really respecting the culture of the country to which they immigrate, and that causes a bit of a problem, right? Because you are going to that country for a reason, and you're going to that country for the reason that it is the way it is, and it is the way it is because of certain factors, right? So I'd say that decent assimilation from that perspective to the people that are immigrating in, the people that are immigrating in, they have to assimilate to where they're going. That is good. Okay, that is something we should talk about. I think that's something that is an argument of merit. However, if you want to discuss this and if you want to criticize this, and what is happening at current is, I think, a bit of a the inverse of that, then you cannot say the stuff like what has been said on Spaces multiple times already. Okay, and some of those dumbass fucking memes about street shitting and whatever, that's just fucking insane, and that's just stupid and annoying. It makes everybody who does this look extremely fucking stupid. Like, if you want to look absolutely fucking brainless, then you spread this kind of shit. Because if you have an argument, you can sound very reasonable in doing so, right? I think Utsef can agree here. There's literally no hate here, and I am actually bringing across the point that Nicholas here is trying to say. Nick, sorry. You can be logical about it, or you can be racist about it. It goes either way, and I've seen a lot of stuff that I'm very disappointed in, and I don't want to ever fucking see that shit again because it's not fair. Okay, and because you look at this. If you really want them to assimilate the culture that you want them to assimilate, then why would you make those specific people pissed off at you? Why would you do that? If you're supposedly representing a very specific set of values, then why exactly would you make these people pissed off at you? Because then they would be pissed off by those values specifically because they associate them with you. So that's a bit of a problem. I will criticize that as well, right? I think we're all on the same page right now.
Yeah, I mean, my own personal issue with Nick is not that he's dumb. In fact, he's very well spoken, very intelligent. The problem is he trolls too much, right? And it doesn't help the conversation. It doesn't help move the needle forward, right? I mean, or push it in the direction that it should be going. That is the only issue. Yeah. Seriously.
It's too much
And
bullshit.
it's not
troll.
him so much as his fucking followers, right? His followers, some of them, they listen to him not because he's smart, not because he has something intelligent to say, but because they just want to troll people, and that doesn't help.
And
But
Yeah,
Nick
but
does
how's
all of this
that?
from
How's
a
that any
hateful
different?
perspective.
Like that's
Like
no
that's the
different than Dean's followers. That's no different.
I don't.
Like there's
that's
lots of
that's
people.
that's just not
I don't
true.
know.
There's lots
That's
of
not
people.
true.
Hang on. Just wait a second. Let me make the case. Okay, it's no different. There's no distinction here when you say, okay, some of these guys' followers follow him because they want to troll. It's like you can say that about everybody. You can say that about any
Okay,
major
there's an exception.
personality who exists.
Let me jump in here. There is an exception to this. Okay, specifically, what I have seen from the Groypers was mass harassment on people for no fucking reason, and literally, it was. Okay, there's one person specifically that these people targeted and tried to bully into censoring themselves, and to an extent, even succeeded. Okay. Which, by the way, is going to lead to another point, because I don't want to hear any of these people ever complain about censorship again, because getting this many views on posts and literally trying to get other people to censor themselves is literally peak fucking irony. Okay? And to say that people troll each other, yes, trolling is fine. To say some dumb shit about each other, that's fine. Okay? People are going to do that. Is it something that should be done? No. Are they going to do it anyways? Yes. But pressuring people and mass harassing them, that's what I have a problem with. That's not fucking okay. It doesn't matter whose fucking side that comes from. I don't give a slightest of a shit. I will call it out in either fucking direction. I don't care, because that shit's unacceptable. This goes for the right and the left as well.
And then I just wanted to briefly respond to what Andrew said.
But
Sorry for the double mute. It's a basic glitch.
Dean died.
Wait, really? Fuck.
Sorry, no, I'm back. Just 10 seconds to kind of respond to a point Andrew made about how maybe the fan base of a lot of larger creators and influencers and the politisphere can be chopped up towards wanting entertainment or satirical nonsense. Well, I guess the difference between people like Nick, me, Harry, etc., is I've never seen a clip on my feed of Nick making a good point supported by evidence inside of an intellectual conversation get thousands of likes. Every single time I see this guy, it's an edit of him screaming the N-word and then going into Nazi Germany and then I love Hitler at the end, right? And top of that, it is never something to do with, as I already noted, an intellectual point. Even in this conversation that we've had so far, you chopped a difference between 85,000 individuals to 500 million individuals is just satirical hyperbole. People don't look to you for news. People don't look to you to learn. People look to you because they feel excluded from the general broader society, and you're the only place for these introverted, quote unquote oppressed white men to go to feel special, right? It's not because they're learning from you.
Well, Nick, I want you to know. No, hold on 1 second,
No.
Harry. 1 second, Nick, I want you to know that I'm an oppressed white guy as well. All right, and I'm here to save the white race with you.
Jordan here is black, by the way.
My nigga.
Jordan here.
I mean, look right there, right? Nobody.
Oh
Here's
my
a
God,
here's a
what the
difference
fuck?
between
That's
it's gross,
so
right?
fucking
It's just
disgusting.
it's just fucking gross. He laughs. It's just
no.
It's just no. It's just fucking gross.
Brother.
Here's the difference between just shut the fuck up, Nick, please. The less from you is better.
Really good troll here.
The less from you, the better. The less from you is better. Listen, the difference.
That's not.
Wait, you guys, you can't be come on when he says the N-word and I tell him to shut the fuck up,
Yeah,
right?
no,
I'm totally,
exactly.
I'm absolutely in the right.
Not about that, but you can't tell people not to talk when they're on stage. Don't tell people not to talk when they're on stage.
Oh,
well,
God,
when he's saying the N-word, hold on.
But then this guy's
when he's saying, wait.
Jordan fully expected.
When he's saying, when
Nick is saying I expect.
Jordan was egging him on a little bit there.
Yes.
Can Jordan say your piece real quick?
Yeah.
Sorry, the fucking mute button.
Yeah, no, I was gonna
Jordan, what did you intend with that? Were you expecting that to happen?
Dude, this actually just proves my point. I went on a whole little 30-second talk about how Nick doesn't educate, Nick doesn't inform, Nick is only for this satirical fucking regressive bullshit, and then his response is to ignore it all and throw out a racial slur. It's abominable, it's gross.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the point I was making.
I mean, something like Harry.
Are any of you familiar with how Chernobyl kind of melted down, because this is what I'm seeing right now. I have the control rods. We're putting it into the nuclear material. The piece is coming in. It's all nice. But the moment that we're lifting it up a little bit, the fucking graphite rods start to burn, and we're having a massive fucking meltdown. And now I'm on the fucking call line with God saying, hey, can I get another try at this? And so I'm putting it all back together again. That's the mute button right now. Okay? So anyways, I'd like to go with Jordan. Nobody fucking talk. Jordan talks now. He's going to answer a question that we have for him. And then Nick is going to answer that question. That is going to come as an answer from. Okay, Jordan, go ahead. Did you believe that with what you just said, or what you said beforehand, that was going to egg on Nick to say the hard R-N word?
I mean, I don't care. Nick knows that I said that joke in good faith. Like, it was meant to be funny. Like, it was genuinely meant to just be like, hey, guess what? Like, I'll help you save the white race, since white people won't help you. Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, like fuck, like I'll marry a white woman. Fuck, man. Like, Jesus Christ,
never
bro.
ask
Like,
a white supremacist. Never ask a white supremacist the race of his girlfriend.
Yeah, definitely black.
Okay, so another thing I want to ask. Another thing I want to ask, Jordan. Were you offended by him saying the N-word?
No, because like I know if I go to like Nick and I like drop a joke in his DMs or something, and it's like a racial joke, he's not gonna take offense to it. Like, it's not like
Also,
Nick's not like the whole problem with race is the fact that like people like Harry and Dean jumped in front of me before I even got to jump in front of myself. Like, I already knew it was a joke when he said it. I'm not gonna fight Nick over the fact that I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna fucking fight Ray. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know damn well if I'm drinking at a bar, a dude swings on me, Nick's gonna be like, all right, dude, you want to just knock this guy out or what? Like, like that's what's gonna happen. Like, I already know that it's not that type of situation. It's just like when you make that type of joke, like, expect like that type of response. Like, I would expect nothing less, to be honest with you. Now in other situations, I'm not gonna bring Nick to the hood and then say that joke and then he drops that shit. I'm like, Nick, you on your own. But like, but in any other situation, I mean, like, it's just whatever. Like, it's funny to me.
But do you not recognize what you just said? Like, you wouldn't bring Nick to the quote unquote hood because he would say something offensive, and a lot of people would take offense to that.
No, I'm saying I wouldn't bring him to the hood and then say, let's save the white race. Like, that's crazy work. Like, I wouldn't do that.
Then also, just like the idea of,
that's
like,
what I'm
saying,
saying.
like,
I wouldn't do
This
that.
is
I don't know,
fucking
like the idea of, like,
die-hard
saying,
shit,
like,
man.
oh,
Like, seriously.
the idea of, like,
This is,
chopping
like,
it up to a
exactly that.
joke. The idea of, like, chopping it up to a joke, just being like, oh, funny, haha, not offended, it's just a joke. That's crazy.
I mean,
I
this
feel like
was a
people like to
joke,
push
wasn't it?
Yeah,
his
it's just
buttons by making him say shit.
But
Can I have?
but it's gross,
Yeah,
right?
can
It
I
gets
have
gross. Like,
just 30 seconds here? Like this idea of trying to sensationalize like this blatantly fucking racist white guy throwing around the N-word, calling it a joke. It's morally abominable. Like, imagine you had a 10-year-old daughter, some guy that you chopped it up with once or twice, really sensational, genuine dude, walks up to you and says, damn, your 10-year-old daughter's hot as shit. I can't wait to bang her the day she's legal. And, like, what are you going to do? Like,
What
oh
the
my God, that
fuck
was
is
such
this?
a joke. Like,
What?
I'm not
That's not
offended.
even the
Like,
same
obviously,
thing.
What?
this
wait,
statement is
yeah,
crazy.
just for the record, that's what
Fuck me,
just for
man.
the record, that's what fucking Donald Trump said. By the way, Dean just fucking quoted Donald Trump, and you're all going, "Oh, what? That's so gross." Yeah, you fucking voted for it. Y'all don't know that Donald Trump.
I didn't.
Yeah, wait, hold on now.
I
Y'all don't know
think
that
we're a
Donald
little
Trump told a
shocked
10-year-old girl that he wants to date her.
when you're trying to drag out one kind of oppression to compare it to another kind of oppression. You kind of show how little you actually give a shit about both. So maybe just don't.
Bingo.
Wait, who is that in response to?
Everything, literally everything. All right, let's fucking move on. Homath, what's up?
Hey, I don't know what the fuck to do with any of this shit.
And why did you?
Welcome to the
Why did you
conversation.
request
This
to come up?
experience.
What's up?
Why did you
Hey,
request to come up?
it's been everywhere for sure.
This conversation it needs a moderator and it needs a structure because everyone's talking past each other. no one's getting really a point or a moment to make. Sorry, I'm tired. No one's getting a moment to make a point about what their values are, what they're seeing, how that's making them feel. You know, we're all just arguing about, like, the last few comments were just like, you can't compare one kind of oppression to another kind of oppression. It's just, I could vomit blood down the front of my shirt if I hear that shit one more time.
I just say something they couldn't
Same.
respond to.
Well,
Yeah.
what it's the rhetoric that it's so stale. It's so like there's just a certain map of lines that you can't cross, and if you do, everyone gets to call you a bad guy. I care so much less about that than I care about listening to people say, well, hey, these changes are affecting me in this way and I don't want it. I don't, what's the point in calling someone a name when they have something like that to say? We're not,
I think it's incredibly important to call out people in society like Nick Fuentes who say disgusting things like the N word.
yes, I know you
And
think
like
that's
for us,
important.
wait,
Acting like as if Jordan
wait,
is
hold
somehow a
for
victim
us.
here. What is this?
No, I'm not. No. Hold on. We weren't saying that Jordan's a victim here. We were just saying that generally Nick shouldn't be saying that, and we shouldn't be embracing people who use language like that. It had
Who's
nothing to do
embracing
with like
anyone? Hang on a
Jordan
second.
asking
Hang on.
that question being
use it in
Dropped
provocative.
like a
some
No,
bad
no,
way
no,
bullshit.
though.
no,
Dropped
no. It's
some
okay.
bullshit that's
No, it's okay.
controversial. He dropped
No, it's
some
okay. I want to be the victim. I want to be the victim. It's okay.
I'm so finished.
Look, I love
What are you doing?
I will
This is
say-
What are you
hilarious.
doing,
I
Jordan?
will say, I think it's kind of ridiculous that there is a lot of people getting offended over words.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't be offended by words.
It's a
And it
huge
was
waste
clear
of
that
That's
he
airtime.
oh
didn't
my
mean it in a
guys,
bad way.
there are words that offend you guys every single day. Whether it be someone personal to you using certain words that offend you, it could be anything, right?
I don't care that
Words have
much.
meaning for
I
a
have
reason. So
literally-
obviously words can be hurtful.
I really don't care that much.
Harry Dean, I want to tell you something. I have literally been called every single fucking slur that you can imagine that can be associated with
totally.
anyone that has the shade
Likewise.
of white.
If you
I
shouldn't get
don't
offended by
fucking
words,
Wait, hold
if
on.
you shouldn't get
But
offended by words, how come
Adrian, hold on.
all-
For example,
well,
like
if you shouldn't get
I
offended
think
by
that
Alright.
shit's
words,
fucking
how come
funny.
everybody
Alright,
on
so-
this channel got offended
Hold
by
on,
my
hold
relation
on.
to the idea of hitting on a kid? Weren't those just words? I think we could all recognize it. Yeah, sometimes it is okay to be offended by words, especially words that perpetuate harm.
and by the way, when I
That's
told
fun.
Nick to shut the fuck up earlier, everybody got up in arms. Those are still words, right? Words can be offensive. And Adrian, I totally acknowledge that you've taken like a lot of shit from a lot of people, no doubt. But it's not necessarily that like words just generally in their use can be offensive, but certain words in certain circumstances absolutely can be offensive. So for example, if a loved one came to you and said something like picked on an insecurity you've been open with them about or something like that, right? You
Isn't
would
it the
probably be
meaning
offended.
behind the words that matters more than the words themselves? Because
Exactly.
for
I think
what
it's
I heard,
both.
Yeah,
Nicholas didn't
I
I think it's both.
intend to hurt Jordan,
think-
right? There was no
Yeah,
intention of hurting him.
exactly.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
Right? It's both.
And then like just to like I'm gonna add on a little bit further. It's not
also-
like the grammatical structure of the N word that
Also,
pisses me
how
off.
much of a
It's how the word has been used to dehumanize people.
Also,
It's how the
how
word
much
has been
of
used
a
to perpetuate real
Well, he
harm.
wasn't
It's
using
how
it
the
in a
word
dehumanizing fashion.
it's how the word is used to perpetuate harm today, right? It's about the impact of the word. It's about the intention
but he
behind
wasn't
someone
Dean,
using
saying
it's
it in that
okay. I
fashion,
sleep
Dean.
with white women, bro. It's okay, bro.
Holy shit, dude.
All right. Also, I don't think you should like. I don't think anyone should be enough of a bitch to get like upset,
Worked up.
about a
nobody
quote
here is
unquote
upset about it. Come on.
insecurity. Oh my god, my nose is too big.
Wait, so like
Shut the
are you
fuck
guys
up.
like are you guys perfectly okay with like Dean and I just like being incredibly offensive toward everybody on this panel and start telling everybody to shut the fuck up?
I mean,
or like
I'm gonna have to mute
Sure.
you
I
probably
mean, you
wouldn't
can
want
call
that,
me the
right?
hard. I mean, you can call me the hard R, but I
Sure,
mean,
go.
like,
No,
I don't know.
I'm just
You
telling
can.
because like
No,
I just find it
it's
ironic.
okay. Call me the hard R. Get
No,
your
I
rage.
find I find it
Bullshit.
ironic. I find it
Okay.
ironic how earlier again I told Nick to shut up and also shut the fuck up, and people got upset. Like,
No, we
wow,
weren't.
it's
We
becoming
weren't.
like so
got
heated in
upset?
here. Like,
Hold
it's
on,
terrible.
Who got
hold
upset?
on, hold on.
Who
Wait,
got
is it
upset?
Hold on. Let's clear this up.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay. We weren't upset. We weren't offended. Right? You can say all of those things. Right? You can say all of those things. We don't mind. Right? Also, I'm not white. And, I've been called slurs as well. I don't give a shit. But, right, we're trying to keep this space somewhat productive. So, even though those things wouldn't bother us, it is still getting in the way of having a productive space.
Yeah. And I think look, here's the thing. Here's the
But
thing.
wait,
Here's
I'm
another
sorry.
thing.
Wait, hold on.
No. Here's another thing.
Dropping the N-word is productive?
Here's another thing. No, we never said that. Here's another thing. You can all eviscerate fucking. Actually, no, that's the wrong terminology. That's actually not correct. You can all debunk or have your criticisms of Nick Fuentes in the comment sections of this space and various other places. We don't really want to harp on this as much as possible. Now, I don't think he should have said that word, but it doesn't matter. He said it. That's his responsibility to bear. And whatever fucking criticisms you have on that, you can leave that to the comment section. We cannot inundate the whole conversation with how you would like to express your disapproval of it, right? I think everybody understands what the disapproval is because it's literally a fucking blanketed term, and it's so annoying. It's like it's over and over the same thing. It sounds like an LLM is out spitting it out, except that it's not even like that because it is always the same thing, not something different. It would be exciting if it was a different thing, but realistically speaking, it's always the same fucking thing. So it makes it worse than something that an LLM would spit out. That's why it pisses me off so much. Okay, so let's kind of return to a little bit of order, and let's try not to be. Fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah.
No more virtue signaling.
Yeah,
This is virtue signaling. I'm sorry. This is virtue signaling.
Okay, I'm gonna keep a level head. This will be it for me on this, and then I'll probably go to bed. And this actually could play into a productive conversation. There's something that you just said that I kind of agree with. You said, well, we shouldn't be able to use like the N-word in this space as it impedes upon the productivity of the conversation. So, like in other words, we shouldn't say things that produce suboptimal outcomes or negative outcomes. And that's like my exact argument for why I don't think that word should be used at all by white people in society. And I mean, I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, but why should it be used
reason.
by black people then? It's either everyone gets to say it or no one gets to say it.
And who are you as a white dude to decide anything? To be honest,
Yeah, I don't want to oppress other people just because a word oppresses me. That's like an eye for an eye makes us all blind. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't
also
understand why people
something
put so much power, give so much power to the word. It just
if anything,
bad.
you remember the word cunt, right?
Yeah, I remember that. You're not supposed to say
so
that.
I was I lived in a lot of English speaking countries before, like I was in the UK for quite a while. And people say the cunt pretty often, but you come to America and people are so offended by the word cunt. Right, but in the UK, it doesn't really have any impact. Why is that? It's because people say it so frequently that it loses all meaning. Cunt, 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 cunt. You say it here, people lose their mind. They're like, how dare you say the C word? Blah, blah, blah. It's because the word is said, it's because the word has the taboo that gives it so much power. So if you
literally with fucking the Australians, they have the same thing. When they want to compliment someone, they literally say the words "good cunt."
Yeah.
No fucking way. It's like insane.
Why are we having a meta conversation anyway? Can't we get back to the topic?
Conversations on language are important.
Yeah, I'm
Unstructured,
I'm gonna
unstructured conversations always devolve into tone policing.
Harry, I'll see you around, Harry. I'm gonna go and drop for the night, y'all.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Sleep well, man.
Yeah.
Sleep well.
Yeah, sleep well.
God bless you.
God darn it.
Why,
yeah, let me jump in here if I
want to beef with him.
Yeah, any white supremacists in the chat wanna call me the hard R? I'm feeling my race kink.
I really don't think that's
my race kink and shit, dude. Sorry.
I really don't think
Please,
that's
you don't want this kind of replies under my spaces, man. Come on.
All right.
I mean, I understand it's all in good faith and whatnot.
Anyway.
You're kind of asking for it, but come on, man.
Anyway, let's.
Yeah, I think Nick wanted to say something, so I mean, let him.
Hey, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. I mean, look, obviously, Jordan made a joke and said, "Oh, I'll help you save the white race," and I said, "Oh my God, it's a joke." And the thing is, like, and same goes, by the way, for the Indian stuff earlier. I think it is important to not get so caught up in the tone policing. Like, one big development that I actually 100% support Elon on is getting rid of the woke stuff. Like, obviously I've been a little critical of Elon over some things lately, but the one net positive I absolutely support about Elon and Trump is undoing the political correctness that gets in the way. And like, here's a perfect example where we're actually talking about a super important issue, which is immigration. whatever side you take on immigration, it's globally transformative. And people don't talk enough about this. It's a global phenomenon. And they're calling it, it's actually a distinct, what they call a demographic transition in the history of mankind, which is the global south migrating to the global north. And you see this, of course, in Europe. You see this in the United States. You see this in Australia. And it's changing everything. And obviously, it's having an impact on the politics of all of Europe with the rise of AfD, with what's happening in the United Kingdom, the riots over the summer, the rise of Donald Trump. Even Trudeau is talking about kicking out some of the people whose visas expired. It's a very important issue. It's going to be determinative for the future of all these countries. And how this whole thing started was I was being called a racist, white supremacist, etc. And all I said was, look, treating this subject seriously or taking the propositionally negative position does not make you a racist, doesn't make you a hateful person. In other words, you can say, I oppose this global demographic transition for some reason other than racial hatred, for some reason other than prejudice. And then we got into the weeds for 20 minutes about such an obvious rage bait like joke. And so the one thing that I do actually agree with the effective accelerationists, the Elon crowd, is that they are oriented around solutions, because the country is really messed up. We're clearly in decline in many ways. And the only way, if we have a chance at solving them, is if we get serious about stuff that matters, like industrial policy and tariffs, like immigration restriction, etc., and not be hung up on, the stuff I'm hearing from these guys where they say, well, language does harm, it perpetuates harm, man. It's like, what the fuck are we talking about? Not to be rude, but it's like, what does that mean? And I'll add one thing on the very end of it, which is this. Like, obviously, everyone can tell and understand context for the most part. I would never go up to Jordan and say, hey, N-word, like, screw you or whatever. But when you do something that's like a little surprising or edgy and a joke,
I'd probably just fucking laugh.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually funny.
And there you go.
When he said it, it was fucking hilarious. I know it's like mean to some people, but it's funny though.
Yeah, so it's like people got to lighten up a little bit, and that's actually, by the way, the basis of understanding. Because if you go to a black person or a person of another race and joke about the differences and not take offense, that's actually the basis of solidarity. There's like a lot of Southerners that hate me because I make fun of white Southerners and their culture, but the ones I get along with are the ones that make fun of me for being Mexican or for being Italian. They say I'm wearing a sombrero. Your last name's Fuentes, blah, blah. And that's fun. That's funny. And people say this before. It's like in the 90s when there was racial humor, there's actually like more racial solidarity because people weren't at each other's throats looking to take offense. And that cuts both ways. I actually think these days, and I'll get shit for saying this, but I think these days, even white people are starting to do this thing where they say, oh, is it because I'm white? Oh, and like, now there is a certain category of people that are fellow travelers with me that will take offense at everything said about white people. And I think everybody should just sort of relax and, be able to distinguish a joke from a joke. And it's not to say that racial hatred, it doesn't exist or prejudice doesn't exist, but, we should be able to laugh and make jokes and distinguish. That's all.
I agree. I 100% agree with that.
That joke was literally meant
point.
strictly for comedy. Like, it was not meant for anything except for like us to laugh about it, because race should not be something that we take so fucking seriously all the time. Like, I get it. Like, there is a big difference. And if somebody walks up to you and calls you the hard R for absolutely no reason, okay, fight that motherfucker. But like, if like me and Nick are joking and it's clearly like clear rage bait, like, just take it for what it is and just let him play it off. Like, obviously if I took offense to it, I would be like, yo, Nick, like, what the fuck, bro? But like, I don't, like, bro, if you know anything about me, man, I grew up in the Dave Chappelle era. If anything, I'm going to the Ku Klux Klan meeting with you because I'm trying to be the last motherfucker lynched. You know what I mean? That's the way that I look at it. I don't look at it in any other way besides that. And if anything, I don't want thugs in my area either. So I'm putting the hood on too. If I could get 5 with you, fuck it. Like that's just what it is. Like I don't take offense to like race like that. The more offense you take to race, the more like you get to play that victim card.
It gives them more power. It gives the haters more power.
Bro, I grew up black. I knew I was a nigga since I was born. Like there's no difference. I had the same opportunities that every other white person does. If I have more money than you or less money than you, I mean, we had the same opportunities. I'll be completely honest. If you're struggling as a white person, I feel sorry for you. You're struggling as a black person, I feel sorry for you. If you're rich as a white man, shit, break me off. If you're rich as a black man, save your money, dog. Like, just trust me. Like that's just how I operate, man. I don't take offense to this shit, and any white
All right.
supremacist can come over and tell me some other shit. It
All right.
doesn't matter.